Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense. Wanted to sit down and shoot a Bitcoin / cryptocurrency / stock market update for May the 12th. I wanted to do back-to-back videos. I did one yesterday, I'm going to do one today because of how bad the market looks right now, and I want to talk about some levels to watch. Before I jump into the content, please do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the description for a link where you can join Patreon for just $7 a month. Gives you access to more frequent updates. Also helps to support the channel and keep these videos coming. So if you enjoy these, make sure you sign up. All right, so yesterday I talked about the stock market, talked about how it was looking a little doggish, but as long as it stayed within its ranges, I wasn't all that worried about it. For example, the US 100 was putting in this long tail. It looked like buyers were really stepping up. The US 500 was sitting inside this box. It looked like buyers were stepping up. And the US 30 was sitting right near the top of this range. Looked like buyers were stepping up. Obviously, that's not what happened, right? The US 30 has continued to go down. It's now back inside this old range, making this look like a false breakout. And this is in danger of falling out the bottom of this range, which would lead me to believe we're looking at more downside. US 500 lost its range, has not closed this daily candle yet, so there's still some hope left, but it is looking pretty bearish. And this makes me think again that we could probably go back down and retest these old levels down around 3960 to 4,000 down in this zone. The one thing that might save the S&P 500 or the US 500 is this 50-day moving average. So I'm hoping that it steps up and does a good job, but we can see that it's not quite like crypto. It's not quite as strong. It's not uncommon to cut through that thing, right? So if this does start to go down and can't close inside this box today, I think we'll probably see more downside in the stock market. US 100, same thing, had this, doji candle, a lot of selling volume, but there was a long tail on it. I thought, okay, this is probably testing demand down here, and hopefully we'll move back up from here. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Buyers simply did not show up today, and the sellers are pushing this down further. So this has definitely got my eye, especially when we take into consideration that it did just touch the top of that 20-year trend that I talked about yesterday. If you didn't see that, I'll just go over it real quickly. There it is, tagged it, and it's having a rough time since then. Now, Bitcoin in all of its glory is doing what Bitcoin always does when the stock market dumps, or nearly always does. It's also having a bad day, why is that? That's right, it's because Bitcoin is not a store of value. Bitcoin is a speculative asset. I'm going to say that in video after video after video until people stop leaving comments telling me how Bitcoin is the greatest store of value ever. It's not. It's an amazing, amazing growth asset. And quite frankly, if you're trying to get rich off of Bitcoin, like I said yesterday, you want it to be a growth asset. You do not want it to be a store of value, which is what gold is, and that's why gold is the same price today it was 10 years ago. All right, so let's take a quick look at, first off, let's look at the two altcoins that I was super excited about yesterday, right? That's what I hate about crypto, guys, right? Bitcoin starts to shit the bed. Well, let's go up further. The stock market shits the bed. Bitcoin falls out of bed, and then the altcoins fall out of bed. It's like a domino effect, right? And so EOS had a really, really good day yesterday, pumped all the way up here. I should have followed the TA, but I didn't because I got sucked into, oh man, this is going to have its own exchange someday, right? It was running into monthly resistance on the Bitcoin pair. I could have flipped over to Bitcoin, then moved back into EOS after it pulled back some. I chose not to do that. Also on the US dollar chart yesterday, and I even had this mocked up, but simply ignored it, right? Not Coinbase. On Kraken, you can see here that it ran smack dab into that 61.8 from its all-time high to its bottom back here in December. And actually, this should be drawn over here, right? Which puts that 61.8 at $15 even. The high yesterday was $14.94. So again, I should have been taking money off the table at that level and then waiting for some type of pullback, and I could have been buying the EOS back. Not necessarily waiting for a bottom, but increasing my stack size. This is what people don't understand about this stuff, right? So if you're bullish on a coin, it doesn't mean you have to simply hold it forever and not do anything. One of the greatest ways to compound your returns is, for example, selling at a level like this and then buying back when it dips, for example, down to 1241, which is the next level. Now it went below that, but it doesn't matter, right? If you're holding long term, you don't care. But just by doing something like that, I could have increased the amount of EOS I had by 17%, right? Could have sold here, put all of the proceeds back in right here. And then if it did eventually go up to, a big number someday, well, I've got 17% more of it, meaning that I'm going to make 17% more money. So for example, and I don't believe this is going to happen, but once upon a time, there was a big report on EOS that said it would be $1,000 coin someday, right? Well, if I have, just easy math, say 1,000 EOS right now, and I get an extra 17%, that's 170 EOS for free. Well, if they become $1,000, that's $170,000 profit on this trade long term, right? I didn't do that, right? All the positive news and everything, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it alone and see where it goes, because I was a little bit salty over selling my BNB too early, down at around $105, right? I didn't sell all of it, but I sold a big chunk of BNB around 105. Not a big chunk like tons and tons of coins, but a big chunk of what I personally had around 105. So I thought, I really don't want to do that again. And I had flashbacks to 2017 where I sold a lot of coins right when they first started to really explode and then go parabolic, and then they didn't pull back, and I kind of missed out. So realistically, though, it was a really dumb thing. I should have should have took profits here on this first red candle at the very least. It hit the 78.6 of my extension, tested the 61.8. Should have took profits right here, set a stop right here, and then I could be riding this thing down, right, and getting a lot more EOS if I was really that bullish on it, which I am. Long term, I still think it's a great investment for me personally, not saying for you. But it's a kick in the groin, right? It really is. You see this crap, and it's down 21% high to low from yesterday. OMG, same thing, had the big news break yesterday. I chose not to take profits on it either. It wasn't on this one. It was actually over here. If you look at the USD chart, right? And I even said in yesterday's video I was a little bit nervous about this one, but I didn't sell any off. It came up to this 50, so it didn't quite make it to the 61.8. It is what it is. It's having a rough day. Why is it having a rough day? Thank you, Bitcoin, right? Down about 13%, 10% currently. So long term, again, I still believe OMG is a great coin or a token. I think it solves some real world problems, or is trying to solve some real world problems. But this market, what's happening with these alts? Let me explain what's happening, guys. All right. Bitcoin, the main use case for Bitcoin has always been not a store of value, but it's used for trading altcoins, right? The more altcoins that are traded with Bitcoin, the more it gets used, the more demand, and that's what drives the price of Bitcoin, along with other things, right? But one of the main things, one of the only real use cases for Bitcoin is literally trading alts. So when you have a lot of people trading alts with Bitcoin, right, it's all good. But when Bitcoin starts to get sketchy, people start selling their Bitcoin for fiat, or whatever it is they're sitting in, Tether, whatever. And if they are not holding Bitcoin, they can't trade the altcoins, because most people aren't trading altcoins for fiat. They're trading altcoins to stack more Bitcoin. So that's the reason that when Bitcoin goes down, alts tend to overreact and go down even worse, because there's less people trading them, less demand, more supply, right? Now, what's happened with Bitcoin recently, with it just going sideways for months? Think about this. What's happening in the landscape? And we're going to talk a little bit off of TA here. This is more fundamental stuff, right? You have Uniswap. Uniswap trades using Ethereum, right? If you go to Uniswap, you're usually, and I don't use Uniswap, but my understanding is it's all traded through Ethereum, ERC20, right? So that's been driving the price of Ethereum up. That's why Ethereum is $4,000, all right? Well, what's happening with Ethereum is it's taking away from the market cap of Bitcoin, which would perfectly explain why Bitcoin has lost its upward momentum, because it's losing its use case, all right? See this? This is Ethereum Dominance, right? Ethereum now accounts for over 20% of all market cap in the cryptocurrency world. 20%. Now look at Bitcoin Dominance. Bitcoin Dominance is dropping like a hammer, right? All the way down to 43. So Ethereum now has about half the dominance of Bitcoin, right? And if you follow this trend extension on this thing, it's pointing toward a much lower number, down around 11. Well, this says 9, but actually I would draw this over here like this, down around 11, right, on the dominance. And if you draw your fibs over here on this swing high, you get a 61.8 that was perfectly tagged, and there's your dominance, okay? That makes sense to me. You know what else is taking away from Bitcoin's dominance? Ever heard of a little coin called BNB, right? This is BNB. Why is BNB shooting up? Why is it suddenly accounting for 4% of all market cap? Well, think about this. Have you ever traded on something called Pancake Swap? Have you ever used that DeFi stuff? Well, guess what's traded? You're not trading altcoins versus Bitcoin. You're not trading altcoins versus Ethereum. You're trading altcoins, these total shit coins, versus BNB. So again, these new kids coming into this space, I say kids, but obviously these people could be any age. I think of most new people in the space as being, 20-year-old kids, 25-year-old young people that are coming in for the first time. But they don't care about Bitcoin. Like, the old, like my business partner said, dude, the problem is we're boomers, right? And we're not that old. I'm in my 30s. He's in his 20s, right? He's late 20s. I'm in my late 30s. But compared to this new crowd that's coming in, we are boomers, right? We're over here looking at the price of Bitcoin and looking at the price of Ethereum and all these first generation alts. And these new kids are coming in and they're trading things in these DeFi networks using things like BNB. They don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care about Ethereum. They're simply getting rich. They're aping into things, like Doge. That's one thing they aped into, right? But you go look at these Pancake Swap coins. A lot of them are playing out entire market cycles in a matter of days. Days, guys, right? Let me show you one. So this Akita coin, this was over, I believe it was on Uniswap because this is an Ethereum, yeah, right? So this thing had, you look at a daily chart, it's like, that's on a market cycle. Want to bet? Entire market cycle. There's your bubble pop on the hourly chart. Down, here's your depression phase. I posted all this on Facebook, right, before it pumped again. Back here, I drawn up and mocked up the market psychology chart and showed what was going to be panic and depression and all that. And look what happened. Whole new cycle starts. Boom. This was yesterday. Tops out. And now we're back in a bear market in this 1 hour chart, right? This is Akita. And this is on Uniswap. This is what these kids are doing. This is how they're turning hundreds of dollars into millions of dollars in very, very short periods of time because they're not having to wait years for market cycles to play out. They're over here trading entire cycles in a matter of weeks. There was a kid that turned like $200 into $20 million doing this crazy stuff, right? So the whole point is, guys, fundamentally, Bitcoin is losing its use case, right? It's not a store of value. We've already established that. The stock market proves that. Every time it has a bad day, Bitcoin just can't seem to catch a break. So BNB is now a big one, and these kids are trading BNB. Well, here's what happens, right, in a bear market. When the bear market kicks off, people don't want to hold Bitcoin, they don't want to hold Ethereum, they don't want to hold BNB. And those are the things they need to trade with. They don't want to hold those because the fiat value of those coins or tokens, it's going down, 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 down. Why would you want to hold something that was going down in value? So they cash those out to fiat or US Tether or whatever it is they're trading with. And then there's nothing left to trade these altcoins. So for example, over on Uniswap, if nobody's holding Ethereum, you can't trade Uniswap. Over on Pancake Swap, if nobody's wanting to hold BNB and all the coins are traded versus BNB, well, then you can't trade those coins, right? So the whole point is it's a domino effect, right? And listen, I'm not a genius or an expert on these DeFi networks. It's really outside of my wheelhouse. I really am like a boomer when it comes to this stuff. So, maybe there's some way to trade those pairs with other coins, and I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm saying what I've seen personally is mainly on Uniswap, people are trading with Ethereum, and mainly on PancakeSwap, everything I've seen has been trading with BNB. So if there's other coins, forgive me, I've never used them. I have traded on PancakeSwap. Finally took my first trades this week. Took 3 of them. Made, hang on, I'll tell you, I gotta look, I don't wanna lie. 250% on one, 40% on one, and 25% on one. That was yesterday, right? These are real tiny trades, just kind of test those. First time I ever traded on it. And like I said, it's got to do with these market cycles playing out in a matter of hours. And the funny thing, guys, is 2 of those I'm still holding, and I'm up even more on. I haven't looked the exact number today. I just know that they went up. And the one that I sold for 250%, it's actually up about 400% right now for my entry. So it's a really crazy world that we're living in. The mania is out of control, right? But at the end of the day, you've got to remember that no matter what the Bitcoin maxis say, Bitcoin has very little real world use outside of trading altcoins, right? It is not a store of value, guys. I just can't drive this point home enough, right? I mean, just look at today. You've got this bad day in stocks. Let's go look at a Bitcoin chart. There it is. Bad day in Bitcoin. It's that simple. There's that 50 moving average that I talked about that we can't seem to stay above. It's not acting as support. Closed right at it yesterday. Had the little wick today to wash out any bears, right? Wash out any stops. A little over 2% and down, right? You go look at a 4-hour chart, same thing, right? We came up. I was like, man, maybe this thing is finally going to turn around. It had broke through the 50 and the 200, got back up in the box again and again. The seller stepped up and pushed it down. But I really don't believe this is just a failing on Bitcoin's part. I really do believe it's just simply correlated to the stock market. It's just another tech stock. So when the stock market does bad, this does bad, right? So it's not a knock against Bitcoin. It's just a realization that Bitcoin is absolutely not a store of value, right? And if you're buying into the narrative that it's a store of value, one of the biggest dangers with that is you believe it can't crash. You believe that all these 80% bear markets and 90% bear markets are history and they're never going to happen again. And you could be right. But personally speaking, I'm going to err on the side of caution and assume that the market's going to do what it has always done, what every market has always done, and that is return to the mean, right? Which is nowhere near $55,000. And by the way, this 3-day candle closes in less than 7 hours, and it's doing exactly what we don't want it to do. It's trying to close inside of this bear market box. And if I sound like I'm happy about this, I'm not. I'm not happy about this. This is exactly what I don't want to happen. I want Bitcoin to continue going up because at this point, I have these altcoins that have exploded, and my big fear, and it is a fear, it's an emotional response, my fear is if Bitcoin goes into yet another bear market before these alts do what I want them to do, they may never do what I want them to do. When I see a coin like EOS that I'm bullish on long term, and I see it run into a 61.8 like this, and then I see Bitcoin starting to look really bad, that worries me. Because 5 years from now, I may look back and be like, that was it. That was the dead cat bounce. It came up, it hit it, and then it just completely fell apart, right? That's the fear that I have. So no, I'm not rooting for Bitcoin to go down. But overall, like I said, just watch the stock market. It's a domino. That's the first domino. Bitcoin's the second domino, right? Ethereum's going to be a domino because it's got so much, dominance now that a lot of the alts that are being traded with Ethereum, if Ethereum has a bad time, those alts are going to have a bad time. And then watch BNB because it's another domino. And if BNB starts to go, a lot of these alts that are being traded with BNB, I would expect them to go as well. It's just one big, I hate to use the term, but it really is like one big Ponzi. You know what I mean? In so many ways. It's like one giant Ponzi. People just moving from one coin to one coin to one coin. And I don't know. I just think if you approach it that way and you approach it with a realization that most of these coins are worthless in reality, that you'll do far better and have far less FOMO in your life, right? All right, I'm going to wrap up. The video's way too long. I rambled, so I apologize for that. But please remember, I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, which means I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor, which I am not, before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. If you enjoyed this video, be sure and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the description for a link where you can join Patreon. As always, this is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.